Welcome to Saturday, January 29th, our last Saturday practice of January 2022. Today will be a heart opening practice with the opportunity to incorporate some balance. So if you need to set yourself up near a wall or a piece of furniture, you can make that change. And also have all of your props available if you use them. So blocks, strap, and blanket. Let's begin by finding a comfortable, easy seat. And anytime I'm intentionally finding the ground, finding a seat, to me that seems like a really natural time to acknowledge the earth on which we're sitting. And when we acknowledge the earth, it only seems natural to acknowledge the original stewards of this land. So in the US, we're practicing on the land of indigenous people. May we treat the earth with respect. And if you'd like to chant Om to begin this practice, draw your hands together in front of your heart. Remembering that Om is a sound that resonates from the base of the spine and rises up, representing the experience of existence. So as the sound starts low at the base of our spine, this is the creative birth sort of energy, and as it rises up, that's the living life energy, and then as it lifts, that's the transcendent death or transformative energy. All right, hands in front of our heart, inhale deeply to create your vibration. Release your hands. Let's find our way into a supportive back bend. So you might already have a favorite one, in which case I encourage you to go ahead and set yourself up in that way. I'll give a couple of options. One would be with your folded blanket, to lie over it with it folded across the mat. Shoulder blades just above, elbows and armpits just above the folded blanket. You can open your arms out wide. I'm going to suggest that we all keep our knees bent, feet planted here. Alternately, you could put your blanket lengthwise along the length of your spine. From the very, very base, your head might be on or off of the blanket. Again, arms out wide. Another option would be to fold that blanket in half and put that under your upper torso, so kind of from the bottom of the ribs, and then the head might fall off. You could put a block under the head or let the head hang. If you want a more firm foundation, you could put the blocks. So you might put one on its skinny medium setting, and then one on its lowest setting, and recline. So you have lots of options here. Hopefully you're finding one that works for you today, knowing that it might be different than what worked for you the last time you came to this sort of shape. Wherever you go, let's let our breath start to fill out. So taking your time, drawing breath in, and taking your time, letting the breath pour back out. Knowing that you're in control of your experience, so you can always adjust if as we go it starts to not feel so good, then just make adjustments. We'll be here for several more cycles of breath. Arms opened out wide, either straight arms or bent elbows. And as you breathe here, you might invite in very full diaphragmatic breaths. So on your inhale through the nostrils, if possible, you can let the breath spill all the way down the chest into the low belly and feel the belly rise. And then the ribs lift and splay out, and then the top of the chest lifts and spreads. And then slowly pouring the breath out from the top to the middle to the bottom, gently squeezing your abdominal muscles, pushing air out. A few more slow, full breaths. The next time you come to the top of your inhale, you might pause and then sip in a little bit more breath. Sipping in more and even more, you might be surprised how many times you can draw in just a little bit more breath. And then pouring it out. In this supported back bend, we'll all again have our knees bent, feet planted. Let's all bring our arms into those goddess or cactus arms, so elbows bent. Spread your fingers wide and lift your elbows off of the ground. And then let your elbows fall back down. Again, lift your elbows, so we're tilting the arms. Lift the elbows as high as you can, keeping the arms in that cactus shape. And then let the arms hang heavy. Bring your elbows under you, push yourself up. Move your blocks to the top of the mat if they were back behind you. And find a comfortable seat, noticing how the spine feels after that supported back bend. Keep your folded blanket nearby. You might even sit on it. If you sit on the folded blanket, scoot to the very edge of it. Interlace your hands behind your head like you're making a little basket. Elbows drawing away from each other, arms open wide. Engage your abdominal muscles. Your ribs might be really splaying out. Try to keep them engaged, drawing in. Lift up through the crown of your head. Inhale here, and on your exhale, drop your left elbow towards the earth, right elbow towards the sky. Keep your hips equally grounded, taking a little lateral spinal flexion. You can look down towards the earth. You can keep your head neutral, gazing ahead with unfocused eyes, or you might look up to the sky. You can always back out if you fold it a little too deeply and your right hip is lifting off of the ground. One more breath wherever you've gone. And come back to neutral. Inhale for a really long spine. Anchor your hips to the earth, and on your exhale, tilt to the other side. Breathing deeply. Another big breath. Stretch out your side body. Breathing, come back to center. Lift your heart on an inhale. Exhale, round your elbows, round your spine. Elbows try to touch. Inhale, open up. Exhale, round. Inhale, lift the heart. Exhale, round the spine. Go easy on your neck here. We're not yanking the head. Sit up tall. Inhale, slowly reach out. Spread your fingers wide, maybe even wiggle. All the way up. On an exhale, fold forward. Bring your hands to the earth. You don't have to make it all the way down. You might bring a block under your head for support. Wherever you go, keep in mind the lengthening of the spine with every inhalation, and look for softening with every exhale. So an option to stack the blocks and rest your arms on them. I like to put my elbows on blocks and hold my head in my hands. This can be calming to the central nervous system. You might sway a little if that feels good. Notice if you're holding tension in your jaw, if you're clenching. Perhaps you could let go, putting a little space between your teeth. About 3 more breaths, getting what you need from this shape. A quote for us to think about today from E.E. Cummings: "It takes courage to grow up and become who you really are." It takes courage to grow up and become who you really are. Sitting tall now, walk your hands back towards your body. Notice which leg you've had folded in front. Bring both feet to the earth, exploring our Navasana pose play, and keeping in mind if you have any piriformis issues, might be a better idea to lower to your forearms and really isolate your abdominal muscles. Otherwise, we'll bring our hands to our thighs, float the toes off of the ground, spread them wide. Lift your heart, long spine, full breath. Maybe you bring your shins towards parallel to the earth. Maybe you straighten one or both legs. Maybe you release your hands and reach. Maybe for fun you reach up. Breathe wherever you go. Remember, we can always explore and then back out. And if you want to go for a bicycle ride, easier to do it in boat pose than in the snow today. If you pedaled your legs, we'll back pedal. Keep lifting your heart, full breath, just another cycle or two to play. As you're ready, return to easy seat, crossing the non-dominant leg in front. Interlace your hands again, making a little basket behind your head, and then switch the interlace of your hands. So we're working with our non-dominant side. So many subconscious preferences that we walk through this life with. All right, sit really tall, open your arms out wide, inhale. Exhale, fold over to your right. Breathe deeply. Maybe you look up or down or neutrally. You might imagine like you're leaning back in space slightly, core engaged, that top elbow lifting to the sky. Breathing deeply, come through center and tip over to the other side. As you breathe here, can you become aware of possibly little stretches in the connective tissue of your hip? Maybe deep abdominal muscles. Maybe you're feeling it somewhere else. Big breath, come back to center. Sitting really tall, inhale, twist to your left. Exhale, twist to your right. Keep your arms open wide, elbows out wide. Inhaling to your left and exhaling to your right. And return to center. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold forward, settling in. Bringing blocks into the picture if you like. Noticing if this side feels different than the first side. Remembering it's never about how deeply we move into these shapes. It's about how we experience them and experience ourselves in the present moment. Noticing if the mind is very chattery. That's just what minds do. So anytime the mind distracts you and pulls you out of the present moment, reliving memories or worrying about the future, you can use sensations of the present moment to anchor you back, anchor you into this moment. So that might be noticing your breath, noticing what you can feel on your skin, noticing what's here now, practicing noticing without judging. Another breath or two. As you're ready, sit up tall. Put the blocks towards the top of the mat. Strap will be available up there also for us. And come into tabletop. I'm going to encourage all of us to use a folded blanket under our knees if it's available. Of course, you can always take or leave anything I say. Getting that blanket under your knees, finding tabletop. And then right away, walking your hands forward, melting your heart down on a Hatasana, heart melting pose. Breathe deeply here. Settle in a way that you don't feel any sharp pain or discomfort, but you can breathe fully. Hips are over knees. This is a big ask on the shoulders. If it feels like too much, you can bring a block under your head so you're not striving to go so low. And flip side, if you're feeling pretty open, you might bring blocks under your hands, giving you a little more space to open up through the pectoral muscles. Our arms are in flexion, arms are up overhead, so that means that the shoulders do slide up towards your ears here. And then relax your neck. Anahatasana. Anytime I incorporate Sanskrit, that's the original language of yoga. Yoga is at least 5,000 years old, a gift from India that has been shared with us by teachers passing it down for thousands of years. So Sanskrit can be a reminder to us of the cultural heritage and roots of this beautiful practice. Another breath or two here, melting the heart. And as you're ready, move slowly, walk your hands under your shoulders, returning to tabletop. Here, imagine drawing your knees towards your hands so our core muscles are really engaged. Just to see what it feels like, drop your chest, let your shoulders come up towards your ears, and then push the ground away. So drop into your chest and shoulders. Hopefully here you can feel something's just not quite right. We're not energized, we're not supported, and then push the ground away. Hopefully here you can feel more support. Fingers spread comfortably wide, grip with your fingertips. Intentionally anchor into the root of your index finger and thumb. On an inhale, drop your belly, shoulder blades slide together, look up. Cow pose. On an exhale, push the ground away, navel towards spine, arching your back. Head hangs heavy, cat pose. And move at your own pace, 3 to 5 slow cycles. You might close your eyes. Sometimes when we close our eyes or lose one of our senses, the other ones kind of heighten. So if you close your eyes, what else can you notice here? On your next exhale, round your spine, send your hips back towards your heels, coming into an active Virabhadrasana, child's pose. Core muscles engaged, helping you sink your hips towards your heels. No worries if your hips don't get there. Walk your fingertips forward so you can imagine like we're pulling the spine in 2 different directions. The top half of the spine, our fingertips are pulling towards the top of the mat. Abdominal muscles engaged, helping us sink our hips low, pulling the bottom half of our spine towards the bottom of the mat. One more breath. How long can we get here? On an inhale, rise back up. If you have blocks, option here, I'd encourage to bring blocks under your hands. It just gives us a little more space to work with. We're actively pushing the ground away, so we feel stability in the shoulders, maybe even hollowness in the armpits. Anchor into your right lower leg and lift your left knee. Hover it here. Just lifting the left knee off of the blanket. So you might stay here. This is already a lot of effort stabilizing and balancing. Option to inhale and draw your left knee towards your nose. Keep pushing the ground away as you breathe here, exhaling. Stay for another inhale. Exhale. Inhale, straighten your left leg, sending it back in space. Look forward, push the ground away, core engaged. Stay here for a few breaths. Lots of length through the left leg. Another inhale. Exhale, bend the left knee, bring it towards your nose. Keep the leg bent. Inhale, lifting the left leg behind you. Exhale, draw the left knee towards your nose. Move with your breath now. Sending the left knee high and then towards your nose. And set the left knee down. Tuck your toes, walk your thighs together, bring your heels together, and sit back on your heels. If it's excruciating, please don't do it. We'll be here for just a few breaths. Spread your toes wide. And draw circles with your wrists. Taking circles both directions. Moving the joints in a nice, safe way to help increase production of synovial joint fluid. You might wave your fingers and see if you can take that wave the other direction. Here for the brain teasers. All right, make your way back to tabletop, bringing the knees hips distance apart. Anchor now into your left leg. Lift your right knee off of the ground. Feel your deep abdominal muscles working for you here. Push the ground away. Be intentional through your foundation, your fingertips, the root of your index finger and thumb. As you're ready, draw your right knee towards your nose, round your spine, trying to bring your knee and nose together. Inhale. Exhale here. Inhale here. Exhale, see if you can hug the knee in a little more. Inhale, extend your right leg long. Stay for a breath or two, looking for as much extension as you can. Core muscles still engaged, so we're trying not to sway completely into the low back. Keep lots of integrity. Reach those right toes back in space. One more breath. Inhale. Exhale, draw your right knee towards your nose. Inhale, send the right leg long. Exhale, knee to nose. Inhale, right leg long. Exhale, right knee towards the nose. Now keep your knee bent. Inhale, lift the right leg. Exhale, right knee towards nose. Move with your breath a few more times. Core muscles engaged. Staying aware of how our foundation, how our hands are meeting the earth. And as you're ready, return your right knee to the earth. Come to sit on your heels, maybe this time keeping your feet flat on the earth, and just shake your wrists out. Clasp your hands and draw some figure eights. And then try doing that the other direction. Bring your hands back to the blocks or mat. Push the ground away, round your spine. Lift your left leg off of the ground. Step or swing the left foot to the left thumb. So transitioning into our low lunge. This is where a blanket under the knee is a nice idea. You might bring the blocks to a higher setting. You might be working without blocks too. That's fine. So you can stay exactly as we are, or you can start to bend your right knee. Quad stretch or hamstring curl. This is where a block might be. A strap might be handy. All the tools are handy, right? So if you'd like, you can put the strap over your right ankle and reach your right arm back in space. If you don't feel like the strap is necessary today, you can just reach that hand back in space. And if you don't feel like it's necessary, because none of this is necessary, that's fine too. Follow your breath. If you've made contact with your back foot or ankle, you might imagine kicking the foot back into the hand or strap, which you might find helps lift your torso. You might even float your left hand off of the ground or block, bringing it to your front thigh. Option to take Dhyana Mudra, index finger and thumb together for additional focus. Maybe even reaching your left arm to the sky. Try to square your shoulders and your hips to the top of your mat. So probably bring the right shoulder forward, left shoulder will then shift back. Jaw soft, breath full. One more slow cycle. However this is going, it's fine. Remember, it's not about the shape so much as the effort, the focus. Slowly, we'll release hands and foot. Step yourself back into plank pose. Push the ground away in plank. Remember, you can always lower your knees. Always make your practice work for you today, never a competition. One more breath. On an exhale, soft knees, send your hips high, melting your heart back towards your thighs, just like we did in Hatasana. This triangle shape, Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. And maybe a child's pose serves you better in this moment. So 3 to 5 slow, full diaphragmatic breaths wherever you go. Keeping in mind that our downward facing dog shape is really about lengthening the spine and sending the hips high. Not so much about having the legs perfectly straight or the heels on the ground. Work with what you've got. On your next exhale, lower your knees back to the earth, hopefully the blanket. Round your spine and lift your right knee towards your nose, then swing the right foot to the right thumb. Whatever it takes to get there, settling in for this low lunge on the other side. Adjusting your blocks if you like to use them. Breathe. And as you're ready, option to bend the left knee, bringing the left heel towards your hip. Option to use the strap or to reach your hand back. Remember, these are just options. Choose your own adventure. Breathe wherever you go. Imagine drawing the left shoulder forward, so we're squaring our chest and shoulders to the top of the mat. You might bring your right hand to your thigh. Maybe flip the palm to the sky, bringing index finger and thumb together, Dhyana Mudra. Maybe reaching that arm to the sky. Wherever you go, try to keep your breath, your awareness on your breath for about 3 more cycles. As you're ready, slowly release your hands and your foot down. Step yourself back to plank and then right into downward facing dog. From here, we can shift the blanket out of the way. Maybe scoot the blocks back to the top of the mat. And then 3 to 5 more breaths in downward facing dog or child's pose. Give yourself what you need here. Full breath. On your exhale from downward dog, drop your knees. If you're in child's pose, then on your inhale, lift up. We're returning to tabletop. And then lower your torso all the way down. Bring your hands out wide off of the mat. Tint your fingers. Point your toes back in space. I like to bring my feet out as wide as the bottom corners of the mat. We'll begin to lift our hearts in cobra pose, but let's think of this as starting at the very base of our spine. So lengthen your low back. As you do that, you might feel your pubic bone press into the earth differently. And then imagine, kind of like in cow pose, when we're arching our spine, go for that. See if you can lift the lowest part of you up first. Slowly, the wave rises up the chest lifts. Perhaps we look up and then exhale, lower back down. So move at your own pace, inhaling to scoop the navel, lift the ribs, then the heart and chest and chin, and exhale, lower back down. Waving through Bhujangasana, cobra pose. A few more times. And on this last time, really go slowly, seeing how much you can articulate the different areas of the spine, helping us keep our spine youthful. Now interlace your hands, head on forehead, interlace your hands behind your head. Notice if your elbows are dropped onto the mat and lift them. Point your toes back in space. Maybe your feet lift off of the ground. Keep lifting your elbows. Maybe your heart and head lift off of the earth. Exploring Shalabhasana, Locust pose, pressing the head back into the hands. If you don't like this version, you can release your arms by your side, reaching your fingertips back in space, palms down. Maybe you interlace your hands behind your back. 3 more breaths, noticing how the body rises and falls with the movement of the breath. And on an exhale, lower down. You can make a little pillow for your head with your hands. Maybe shimmy your hips side to side. Passing through half frog, bend your left knee and bring it out wide off of the mat. So 90-degree angle at the hip and knee and ankle joint. Resting your head on your hands, maybe looking over to the right. And breathing, send your left leg alongside your right again. Then bend your right leg out wide, flexing your ankle, 90-degree angles. Staying for a breath or two. And bring your right leg back to neutral. Hands under shoulders, arms grip your side body as you push yourself up. Tuck your toes, find downward facing dog just long enough to get there, and then walk your feet forward, making your way into Uttanasana, forward fold. Hang heavy here. You might look side to side. Maybe you slowly nod your head. Start to sink your hips really low. Lift your toes off of the ground. Try to have your knees behind your toes. Start lifting your heart, lifting your arms, passing through an Utkatasana, awkward chair pose. Gluteal muscles are really engaged, supporting us here. Inhale. Exhale, stand up. Tadasana, mountain pose. Find your breath again here. Notice your feet and the way that they meet the mat or the ground beneath you. Throughout our practice, we can almost always lift our toes, keep them nice and light. That helps us anchor into the You could say four corners of the foot. It helps the arches stay lifted, supported. Lengthen your low back, or you might think of lifting your front hip points. Core muscles engaged, heart slightly lifted, shoulders can roll up, back, and down. Palms flipped forward as our shoulder blades slide together and down. Now, as we stand in the stillness of mountain pose, notice, if you can, the subtle movement of the body as the breath waves through you. Even in stillness, there is movement. Becoming more and more aware of the subtleties around us or within us. On an inhale, slowly as you'd like, reach your arms out wide. Slowly up overhead. You might look up, maybe you even take a little back bend, pressing the hips forward, gluteal muscles engaged, heart lifting towards the sky. On an exhale, fold forward, soften your knees as you go, long spine all the way down. Inhale to lift halfway. Our toes can still be lifted. Spine long here, core engaged. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, root down to rise all the way up. Fingers spread wide, reach up. Exhale, hands to your heart. Inhale, reach out and up. Exhale, fold forward. Hands touch down, step your left foot back in space, setting up for warrior two, heel to arch or heel to heel alignment. Cartwheel your arms up, Virabhadrasana 2. As we bend into our right legs, we can see the right big toe on the inside of the right knee. That means we're engaging the proper gluteal muscles. If we look down, we can see our shoulders are directly over our hips. We could feel the pinky side edge of our back foot pressing into the mat, so we're not rolling in on our ankle. Fingertips pull away from each other, really broad through the chest. Looking over the front fingertips. You can stay like this, or flip your right palm to the sky. Inhale, reverse, exalted warrior. And option to exhale, cartwheeling your arms down, extended side angle. So you could be in any of those three options, or maybe you inhale, transitioning between exalted warrior and extended side angle. 3 more breaths, wherever you'd like to go. And we'll all meet back in Virabhadrasana 2, warrior 2. Hands to hips, straighten your front leg and pivot on the heels. So now we're in our wide leg stance. Drop, anchor your low back, lift your heart and crown. Inhale here, and exhale, hinge forward. Release your hands to the earth. You might bring your hands to your outer ankles or your big toes, or walk your hands under you, behind you. A soft bend in the knees is always allowed. Do what feels right to you as you breathe. You can stay just as you are in the wide leg forward fold, or explore Skandasana, so bending into one knee, sinking your hips low, lifting the opposite toes off of the ground, and then transitioning to the other side. So an option to pass through Skandasana on each side a time or two. And if you want a little more balanced challenge, you can bring your hands to your heart, working with just the lower body strength. Wherever you've gone, let's say 2 more slow cycles of breath. Meeting in wide leg forward fold, hands to hips, anchor into the pinky side edges of your feet. You can even look at your feet and maybe see your inner arches lift. With a long spine, inhale, rise up. Now your left leg becomes the front of your warrior 2. Bend into your left knee. pivoting on the heel, and then bend into the left knee, anchor into the pinky side edge of your right foot. We could see the left big toe on the inside of the left knee. We could see our shoulders over our hips. Fingertips pull away from each other, staying really broad through the chest. Look over your left fingertips. Only the head moves. If the right shoulder tries to move as well, keep it open. Maybe that means you stay looking neutrally instead of over the fingertips. Breathing deeply here. Option to lift your left palm to the sky. Staying for a breath or two. And then option to slowly cartwheel your arms, passing through extended side angle. And then returning to your exalted warrior. Breathe deeply, knowing that you can always choose your own adventure, whether stillness or movement is calling you. Another cycle or two of breath. And then we all meet in Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. Straighten your left leg, hands to hips, pivot on your left heel. Inhale, long spine. Exhale, hinge forward. 3 breaths and wide leg forward fold. Inhale, lift up halfway and heel toe your feet in. And then stand up tall. Grab your strap and perhaps a block. If you'd like a block, we'll put it between our feet. That will give us a little kickstand option as we explore Vrikshasana tree pose. So strap in your hands in front of you. Block between your feet if you'd like to play with having a little support. Again, notice your feet on the ground. So pausing for a moment to feel that connection. Lengthen your low back, core muscles engaged. And you're welcome to stay here. There's a lot of effort involved in finding a Hatasana mountain pose. Perhaps you start shifting the weight into your right leg and float your left foot off of the ground any amount. Let's go ahead and engage the upper body by pulling this strap apart. And you might stay here, hovering your left foot off of the ground. Maybe you set the left toes on the block and then open the leg out like a book, left knee pointing away from your body. Maybe you press your left foot into your right leg, everything hugging in towards the center, the Sushumna, the central line of energy. Pulling the strap apart can help us get that sense of engagement. Maybe you lift your arms up overhead, lifting up and perhaps even back a bit. Stay anchored through the base of your spine. You can imagine pressing your hips forward. Maybe you lift your gaze. Follow your breath about 3 more cycles. And as you're ready, we'll slowly begin to release, standing back in mountain pose. Noticing if there's a rush of energy moving through the body, sense of aliveness in this body. Notice your feet, any texture or temperature that they can detect on the ground. And really notice your left foot as you slowly shift the weight to the left leg. Left gluteal muscles engage, hugging that leg and hip in towards the midline. And you might hover the right foot off of the ground. Go ahead and engage the strap, gently pulling it apart, feeling how that helps us, perhaps, hopefully, feel sensation and engagement in the body. Option to bring your right toes to the block and then open the leg out. Keep anchoring your tailbone down. Maybe you place your right foot on your left leg. Anywhere except for on the knee joint is fine. Remember, the toes can still be on the ground or block. And then we'll slowly lift the arms overhead, lifting up. So let the shoulder blades slide up, and then perhaps bringing the strap back in space, finding a little back bend in this Virabhadrasana tree pose. Full breaths wherever you go. And noticing if it's challenging or if it seems to come with ease today. And noticing what the mind makes of that. If it's judging it as good or bad, worthy or not. And then just zoom out and notice that those thoughts are occurring without identifying with those thoughts. They're just thoughts. Another breath or two. And as you're ready, release to Virabhadrasana. Find Hatasana, mountain pose, and keep the strap in the hands. Moving the block out of the way if you're using it. Option here to explore Natarajasana, dancer pose. So this is an opportunity if you'd like to move to a piece of furniture or a wall, or to just play with it and let however it goes happen. So strap in left hand if you'd like to use the strap. From the top of your mat, again, find your mountain pose. It's so easy. Our minds are probably already jumping ahead, or maybe our bodies are already getting into the shape. That's all good, but let's pause and first just notice that we're here right now. Remember that yoga is an internal practice and the rest is just a circus. Tavi Joyce, one of my favorite quotes. All right, now let's join the circus. Start carrying the weight into your right leg. Right gluteal muscles engaged, squeezing in towards the midline. Balancing on the right leg, the left foot hovers off of the ground, and you can stay here. This is already loads of effort. Maybe you bend your left knee, bringing your left heel towards your hip. If you're using the strap, you can loop it around your left foot or ankle, and then walk your hands up the strap any amount. Try to keep your knee, for right now, pointing down. Left leg is still in alignment with the right leg. Lengthen your low back, engage your core, lift your heart. Finding an object or point in space to focus on in front of you, your drishti. Your right hand could be on your hip. Maybe again you bring Jnana Mudra, index finger and thumb, reaching your right arm up overhead. Option to stay exactly as you are, or maybe you start to kick your left leg back in space. Breathe deeply wherever you go. Maybe it's possible to keep a playful attitude here, just exploring what's available to us. Kicking the left foot back in space, keeping your heart lifted and full. Notice what's happening in the right foot. Probably quite a bit. Thank you, foot and ankle, for all of your effort to stabilize during this circus ask. Keep breathing. And if you've discarded the strap, that's fine too. Maybe you can hold on to the outer ankle or even the tops of the toes. If you feel any sharp pain or discomfort in the knee, please back out. You can join me in a more mild attempt. Another breath or two. And as you're ready, we'll slowly release this effort. Pausing in mountain pose, noticing if there's sensation or judgments flooding your experience right now. Just standing back and noticing it. Noticing your breath. You might even put one hand over your chest, feeling how the breath is moving, maybe feeling how the heart rate has changed. Practicing being aware of our experience, aware of the experience of being alive. All right, and now the mind knows we're going to try on the other side, so notice what's happening in your internal world. Strap in the right hand. From mountain pose, engage the left gluteal muscles as you start shifting the weight to the left leg. Right foot hovering off of the ground. This is enough. You might stay right here. Maybe you bend your right knee, bringing the right heel towards your hip. Keep the right knee pointed down. Option here to loop the strap over your right foot and ankle. Walk your hands to a comfortable position on the strap. Option to take that mudra of focus, jnana mudra. Perhaps you lift your left arm up overhead. The right knee is still pointed down. Breathing, you can start to kick the right foot back in space into your hand or strap. If you're exploring dancer pose, Natarajasana, start playing. Keep breathing deeply. Noticing your experience. It's not about how deeply we move into a posture, but about how deeply we experience it. A few more focused breaths. However it's going is fine. Everything is welcome here. Notice your left foot and your left toes. Maybe you can lighten your toes or even lift them off of the mat. Another breath or two. And slowly, as you're ready, begin to release. You can set the strap down. Pause in mountain pose. Long spine. You might imagine an anchor dropping down your spine all the way to the earth. Aponic energy is that grounding energy on the back body. Pranic energy lifts the front body. Aponic energy anchors the back body. So you might consider that there's always this loop of energy happening around us. The Sushumna is the central line of energy running through us. One more breath amidst all of this energy. On an inhale, reach out and up. Exhale, bend your knees really generously. Please really bend your knees as you fold forward. We just did a lot of back bending, so be very gentle and cautious coming into a forward fold. Inhale, lift halfway, long spine. Exhale, bend your knees, plant your hands. Let's find downward facing dog. Last one. Take a nice full stretch, full breath. Drop your knees to the earth. Send your hips back and swing your legs around. Have any props available that you would like to bring with you into Shavasana. And when you're ready, roll onto your spine. Open your arms out wide, any way that works for you in your space. Let your knees fall to the left. And give yourself a few breaths here of decompression. You might put blocks under your legs on the left side, or just let your legs hang, just kind of noticing. And you might notice your left hip. This is essentially like a gluteal press, really nice self-massage. Breathing, bring your legs back through neutral. And with an exhale, let your legs fall off to the right side. Give yourself a few breaths to soften, noticing the right hip and gluteal muscles. The head of the femur is pressing into those tissues. So you're giving yourself deep tissue. And then breathing, bring your legs back to neutral. Cross your right leg over your left. Pick up and scoot your hips to the right just a little. Bring your legs in towards your chest any amount. And slowly let your legs fall off to the left. If that's a bit too much, then put a pillow or a block under your legs on the left side. You can press the back of your head into the earth to pick up your shoulders and then drape them back down on the ground. Maybe you like to look over your right shoulder. Soften your jaw, soften the shoulders and hips. Another breath here. And slowly unwind, returning to neutral. Shift the prop to the right side if you're using it. Cross your left leg over your right. Scoot your hips to the left just a little. Draw the legs into the chest, any amount. Inhale. And exhale, let the legs fall off to the right side. Breathe deeply here. Maybe you look over your left shoulder. Another breath or two. Where could you let go or soften? And as you're ready, bring your legs back to neutral. Both feet on the ground. If there's any other shapes you like to take to close your practice, feel free to do those. Maybe Apanasana or Ananda Balasana, happy baby pose. Just a breath or two. And whenever you're ready, send your legs long and arms long, palms towards the sky as long as that's comfortable. And here you might invite yourself to find complete stillness and noticing that you might instantly have lots of urges to fidget or adjust, scratch or shift, and see if you can create a little more space simply by pausing, noticing that urge. And sometimes the urge dissipates just as quickly as it came up. A lot of the times it'll be replaced by another one. Creating space to step back and notice this all happening. Trust that this slower time is valuable. It takes courage to grow up and become who you really are. Notice if the mind has drifted away with thoughts. It's completely normal. But anytime we notice it, we can lovingly guide our awareness back to the present moment. Gently, lovingly, just like you were training a puppy. Return to the present. Deepen your breath and invite movement back into your body. You can always stay in Shavasana longer or turn the video off and transition into meditation or breathing exercises. And if you'd like to close this practice together, let's return to an easy seated posture. Arriving in an easy seat as we began, notice how you're feeling. Noticing any shifts that may have occurred in the mind or body. Perhaps the breath feels different here. If there's any sense of peace or well-being that you are feeling right now, know that you cultivated that and that there is a well of peace within us. The more we practice discovering it, the easier it is to return to. If you'd like to close practice by chanting the auspicious sound of Om, let's draw our hands together in front of our hearts, sitting tall. Breathe deeply for one long Om. Thank you for sharing your time and your practice, and thank you to all of the teachers who came before.